As far as guests go, you could say today we hit the jackpot. Joining us tonight is someone who has literally been there and done that. He is a multi-time world champion, an activist, actor, and the whole effing show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rob Van Dam. Now, Rob, thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going these days?
Hey, guys. It is awesome to be RVD. And I know you might think that. Most people think, like, man, it must be really cool to be him. But I can tell you firsthand, I'm really enjoying being Rob Van Dam. They're awesome right now.
Great, man. So this Sunday, June 7th, you will be joining a plethora of other wrestling legends for an event conveniently entitled Legends of Wrestling. What can you tell us about what you'll be doing this Sunday at Citi Field in New York?
Yeah, so myself and some of the other plethora will be actually competing in wrestling matches. And before that, I think everybody, the entire plethora, if you will, and if you won't, do it anyway, we'll be doing autograph signings, taking photos with the fans. And so it's an opportunity, for the fans to meet all these legends at one time, because Ric Flair's going to be there, Goldberg, Bret the Hitman Hart, of course Rob Van Dam, and you can let everybody know, and you probably already have, who all's going to be there. But point is, we're going to be meeting everybody firsthand, getting photos with them, and actually, making memories. So that's part of the pre-show, and then during the show, of course, then some of us, including myself, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that I might be wrestling Sabu.
All right.
Now, as you mentioned, prior to the wrestling, there's going to be a meet and greet with you and all the other legends. Now, you've been in the business for over 15 years. You've had, no doubt, tens of thousands of fan encounters over the years. Can you tell us about an interesting fan encounter that you've had?
Well, a lot of them are very interesting. You'd be surprised, like, if you do enough of that, what the standard consists of. You learn new names every time, and in different areas where you're traveling, there's different names that are popular in that town, and that's always a big part of it. I got to be honest, I love it when the pretty ladies come by and want to get a photo, and I might hug them a little tighter than some of my male aficionados, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, sometimes they bring me gifts, and absolutely that's cool. Bring RVD gifts, totally.
Awesome.
I had a guy recently at a signing that told me that he met me once several years ago in Amsterdam, and I thought, well, that's not something that I hear very often. And then he described me coming out of this laundromat, going up the stairs, and taking a photo with him several years ago. And I was like, dude, I totally remember that.
That's
yeah.
great. Nice.
I actually got my laundry there a few weeks ago, too.
There you go. Now,
I only brought a couple of pairs of socks to the laundromat. The lady said it was the smallest load she's ever seen, and she watches midget porn.
Nice. Now, there are some other ECW legends, such as Tommy Dreamer, and like you said, Sabu will be at the event as well. Looking back on your career, you have always been known as an ECW guy, but is it weird to think that you spent more time in the WWE than ECW?
That is weird. Is that the fact?
That's the fact.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. So ECW was 96 to 2001, so 5 years. And then WWE was 2001 to 2006, I believe, with 1 year off with injury, and then back recently. I'm not sure, man. I think that's debatable.
All right.
Now, it's no doubt that you're an absolute legend in the business, but what we want to know is, how have you been able to remain so consistent for such a long time?
Sticking to my guns. I'm stubborn. That's what it is. And I know when not to listen to people, because that was one of the hardest things when I was young and new to the business, I used to wonder who should I listen to because everybody would pull me to the side and then they would give me a piece of their mind, and they all said conflicting things, that they thought would be good advice to me because they all wanted to have their stink on me is the way that I see it. They wanted to be able to say, yeah, I helped him when he was young, I helped train him, whatever. But there was a lot of conflicting advice, and when you're young, you got to make the right call. Gee, should I listen to this guy? This guy says, don't look at the people. This guy says, hey, you got to connect with the people. This guy says, hey, slow down. This guy says, hey, keep it up. Boom, whatever. For me, that was a big part of it. I've always made the right decisions throughout my career. When I look at how long I stayed and when I left, everywhere, every contract that I've had, which has always been on my own, except for when I first started in 1991 with USWA, they actually finished me up and Sabu and the other guys before we wanted to be finished, and that was what they did. And every other contract, WCW, WWE, a few times, All Japan, ECW, I left there when I knew it was time. TNA, we were actually going to do another contract. They just never produced it, and so I knew it was time to knock on on another door when I did. So it's all about making decisions. I think I had the old school mentality of the original Sheik, which now kids don't have that. A lot of the wrestlers in WWE are second generation wrestlers, but somehow the style has changed so much. I feel like the old timers have lost like the generation above me, I think, lost their grip on the younger guys. And it's like what used to be wrong is like the new right now when I watch it. It makes me confused about, how valid my knowledge and experience is if they're doing things different. But things have to progress. Sheik told me way back in the day, don't listen to anybody else. Ask them, they don't know what they're talking about. And that was, I think that was the advice to help me out the most. And being consistent, sticking to my guns when everybody wanted to change me. And then here I am, standing the test of time.
Wow. Well, so speaking of standing the test of time, something we have to point out is that from day one until now, it looks like nothing has really changed about you. But in your eyes, what about you is different today from Rob Van Dam of 5 or 10 years ago?
Well, I'm always improving. Like that's when I left WWE in 2006. It was very important for me to experience other things in life. I've been wrestling my entire adult life since right out of high school. And, I do the Rolling Thunder, people cheer, town to town, okay. But I wanted to get in touch with the spiritual side. I wanted to better myself as a person, thereby bettering life. And because I've really been involved in that, whenever I look back at myself, I always look at a lesser version of me. When I look back even further, like if you want to go like 15 years back, and I think about the people I knew at that time and the relationships I had and whatever, a lot of times I just think I was a jerk back then. Definitely worse before then. But I'm always improving. And, like you never know what the future holds. But if I went back 5 to 10 years and talked to a 5 or 10 year younger version of RVD, I'd be like, bro, don't even worry, man. The future is great. And, it's awesome. Right now, I pick my shots. I work when I want to. I'm off whenever I want to. I got a house in LA, a house in Vegas. Go back and forth whenever I want to, and party my ass off. I'm supposed to be in. Actually, I'm going to be doing my second movie of this year in a few weeks, and then there's 3 more that are on the table that should happen this year. And so I'm actually like so busy that I'm trying to find time to do certain things that I want to do that are even business related, and that's a good thing because it's all stuff that I want to do, so it's all positive. Stuff that I don't want to do, I don't do. Mm-hmm. That's another way that I've always been successful and gotten ahead. And and been able to stay true to me is, I don't do a lot of things that I don't want to do. I mean, there's paying your dues. There's the yang to the yin. Sometimes, hey, sometimes you gotta clean up dog shit if you want a clean yard. I mean, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people live with a lot more hate and a lot more guilt and a lot more negative energy than I allow into my life.
Well, it's no secret that you're one of the greatest high flyers in the history of professional wrestling. What do you think about some of the up-and-coming high flyers in wrestling today?
I think they're amazing. It's I can tell when I watch them wrestle that times have changed because of the whole layout of the match and the pacing and the optimizing of each moment, and it's just, a lot of that makes me feel almost old-fashioned when I see how different it is. I'm like, no, he needs to slow it down. He needs to sell. But besides that, they're out there showboating. As long as they can get the fans to connect and be emotionally involved, then they're doing it right. And that's what a lot of people never actually learn how to do, is how to get the fans to really care. A lot of guys have gone out there doing all kinds of crazy high-risk moves, but, every moonsault in the world, but the fans didn't care as much. And I came up that way too. When I remember in the early 90s coming up, and I would do, a jumping, spinning back kick, springboard off the guardrail on the floor, and then the fans, they didn't know who I was. They just wanted to see Sting come out and do his call, whatever that is, that scream up to the oh, there you go, do it for me. And anyway, so having said that, the way that the standards have lifted and continue to move forward impresses me very much. I've read a lot of messages on Twitter from fans that are saying that Neville kid is like a newer version of RVD, and I like that. Like, I'm actually what's the right word? I don't know. I'm humbled by it, or I'm impressed because he's very good, and I see him. I saw him do a 450 off of the guardrail to the floor, and there's stuff. Because for me, I used to like testing myself, and the bar wasn't as high back then. I didn't see anybody doing moves that that I was doing, and so I had even less to go off of. But there was a certain point where I knew, I could test myself physically to a point to where I could probably do something, but then is it worth the risk factor? And after slipping, doing some crazy stuff, walking the ropes and some crazy stuff, after slipping a few times, I learned to trim a lot of that stuff out where, okay, I don't need this anymore because these moves are solid. The fans want to see this. And so, it's great. I think the guys now, a lot of them get it, and they have a combination of both. The impressive moves that keep people entertained, and a solid arsenal of fans' favorites that they can count on and get behind and support.
Sure. Now we've seen a major shakeup in the world of wrestling too with NXT lately. Another ECW alumni, Rhino, has been competing there on a limited basis as of late. Do you think you'd like to go there and mix it up with the NXT roster sometime?
I would say that there's got to be a reason for me to go there, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a reason, then maybe that reason would intrigue me, but do I want to go just to wrestle those guys? Hell no. I've been wrestling over 25 years. Yeah. I don't have anything else to prove.
Sure.
The only thing I have to prove is that I'm still the whole effing show, and every time I get in the ring, I still do that. I'm 44 years old, and people don't understand that I'm at least just as tough as when I was 24 years old. And I know that normal people age differently than RVD, but luckily I'm in the spotlight, so I can show that. So I don't have to hold back. I can do a jumping 360 leg drop off of the apron onto the guardrail, crash my body, rolling to the floor, and still get up from that. That's one move I haven't seen anybody steal, and I think the reason is it would end most wrestlers' careers.
Absolutely.
I can still feel that. I like my chances today just as much as when I was in my 20s of standing in the road and getting hit, by a speeding truck because I'm durable. I'm made of tough stuff, and I'm very fortunate that that hasn't changed. I've only gotten wiser, smarter, and like we said earlier, way ascended spiritually, which really helps everything because I'm much more connected with the universe, and life just doesn't get any better than figuring out the patterns of the universe.
Yeah.
Well, is there one wrestling accomplishment that you want to achieve before you finally hang up the boots that you haven't achieved yet?
I can't say that there really is. A lot of people talk about the Hall of Fame, and I don't expect it. At the same time, I think maybe I have enough fan support to where I have a decent chance, and I do think that would be pretty cool. But I think I have to quit wrestling first in order to get in the Hall of Fame, and I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding of how that works. And either way. Whether I do or not, I won't be surprised, but that would be, it's a pretty awesome thing. Like, I'm honored when people still call me champ, even though they don't have a belt, and they just say, dude, come on, you're out that day, you're always going to be champ. Come over here, champ. I'm flattered. That's the word I was looking for earlier. I'm still flattered when they say that. And when they say, hey, here's a future Hall of Famer, even though that could be bullshit, it still flatters me as well.
Awesome. Now, you inducted the original Sheik into the WWE Hall of Fame. When the day comes knocking for Rob Van Dam to go into the Hall, have you ever thought about maybe who would you want to induct you?
I can't imagine anybody else even being like a number 2 choice behind Paul Heyman.
Awesome. Now,
I think, by the way, out of my whole career, I think he's been the only guy in the office that's ever really understood me, and probably the only guy that's really had my best interest at heart too.
All right.
Okay. Now,
whether it's personal or professional, he was the guy that stood out for me, that understood how to utilize me by letting me be me, and nobody else ever has. And besides him being a friend.
Okay. Now, very few people seem to be able to handpick how they want to leave the business. If you got to pick your opponent, the place, and maybe the stipulation of your final match, what would you pick?
Let's go with a world tour, maybe even a whole year, at least 6 months, maybe a world tour, retirement tour, wrestling Sabu, double retirement. Because he loves it a lot more than me, so he's going to stop at a much older age than I am, which might put us around the same time. And Japan, Australia, London, Germany, everywhere, at a cool pace where we can enjoy it. How about that?
That's awesome. Let's book it.
Now, like we mentioned,
sorry, don't hang my boots up too soon.
No, definitely not. But like we mentioned before, you're a very busy guy. What are some of your passions outside of wrestling? Is there anything when you're not wrestling that you just love doing?
Well, you mentioned that I'm an advocate, so I spend a lot of time pursuing my personal studies on that. Medicating out here in California.
Sure.
But there's, I read, I write. This is something every day. Writing is something that I have on my list that I want to do, but procrastinate and suck at. But then sometimes, I'm able to do a little bit. And I have several writing projects, and I also am doing a bit of acting. So that's been something. Reading scripts. People send me scripts, and I read the script, and then if I like the part that they have me in mind for, then I assign a non-binding letter of interest so they can use my name to further the project. And then, that happens so often I forget about most of those letters of interest that I signed. LOIs, as we call it in the industry. And so many of those that, like, sometimes years later, someone will hit me and say, "Hey, we're finally doing that movie." I'm like, "What? Refresh my memory. Who are you?" that happens a lot. Yeah, and I have some of my own projects too. One that I'm not really talking about a whole lot yet, but I will be real soon. It is it's a documentary, and it has to do with sports and cannabis.
All right.
Awesome. Well, speaking of all of that, if fans want to know more about any of your upcoming events, projects, or anything like that, where can fans keep up with you?
Well, RobVanDam.com is the hub that I always try to post all of my recent interviews. Like if I have a link to this, it'll be on there, and as well as appearances. I do stand-up comedy too, by the way, guys.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's just for fun. It's a passion. Get up there in front of people. As an artist, I like to write the jokes, and I like to deliver them and connect, and boom. I'm not looking to switch careers or travel any further than a couple hours to do it. And there's so many clubs in LA. But anyway, I have all that there, and my social media is The Real RVD. That's my Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that.
All right. Well, Rob, thanks so much. We can't wait to see you this Sunday at Citi Field, possibly going against the Sabu. So, guys, we'll see you out there in at Citi Field.
Okay, cool, man. Looking forward to it. That's one of the pick'ems and choose'ems. You don't want to miss a chance to go into the New York City. Yay, New York.